Hey, this is Kirk from Brother B's Bees. I'm out here at my hives. I'm going to do an oxalic acid treatment on at least one or two of my hives. It is mid-December. It's about 50 degrees, 40 to 60 during the time of year when they have little or no brood is the best time to treat for mites. When you don't have any capped brood, you don't really have as many places for the mites to hide, and they're going to mostly be in open cells or they're going to be on the bees. And so now is a good time to treat them with this oxalic acid vapor treatment. Now this particular oxalic acid is actually in honey in small degrees, so it's not something that's going to hurt them. And so what I'll do is I'll put some of the crystals into this. I'll hook this up to my battery. It will heat up this wand, and I will slide the wand up inside of the hive, and the vapor will go up through the hive. Before too long it will crystallize, and so it'll get all the way through the hive, and then it'll crystallize and kind of fall back down, and then in time they will move it out or clear it out of the hive. And so it is safe for the bees, but it's a good way to get rid of mites. Here are some of the tools that I'll be using for applying this treatment. I've already showed you the wand. I've got some claws that I'll use to plug up the front entrance of the hive. I'll take off my entrance reducer. I'll slide the wand up inside, and then as it starts to create the smoke in the hive, then I'll clog the entrance back up. This is the oxalic acid that I was talking about. It's basically wood bleach, and that's really what wood bleach is. You mix it with water if you want to bleach wood. But anyway, the crystals are what I'm concerned with, and that's what we're going to use. Of course, I've got a mask and I've got goggles to protect my lungs and my eyes. Another thing I have here is I have just a simple bucket of water. After I treat them, I'll take the wand and put it down in this water to cool it down. I want to cool it down and clean it and let it cool before I stick it in another hive. So basically what I'm going to do is I will cover any, my inside covers on all these hives have an opening in it so bees can get up into the internal feeders. I will close those holes so it keeps the vapor down inside the hive and it doesn't escape. And so I'll do that. I've just got some pieces of cardboard to cover that up. And so I'll do that. And then what I'll do is when I slide the wand in there and hook up the ends to the battery and it starts heating, then I will leave it inside the hive for about 2.5 minutes. And then at that point, I will undo one of the connectors to the battery. I'll leave it a couple of more minutes. Then I'll pull it out of the hive. I'll put it down in the water to cool the end of the wand that is hot. I'll close the hive back up and leave it for about 10 minutes. Then I will pull the cloth out of the front of the hive and let it air out for about another 10 minutes. And then after that, I can put my normal entrance reducer back in there and everything will be fine. Now also one of the things I will do is I'll shoot a puff or two of smoke into the front of the hive at the entrance, and all that is designed to do is just loosen up the bees just a little bit. This time of the year, the bees are all in a cluster in the middle top of the hive. Well, you want all of your bees, or as many as possible, to have this vapor land on them or surround them, because you're trying to treat the mites that are actually on your bees. So by puffing a little smoke into the hive, it will cause that cluster to loosen just a little bit. And you don't necessarily want it all to loosen because you want them to stay together, because that's how they heat each other. But you want it to loosen a little bit so that the vapors will go up through that cluster. So those are some of the tools I'll be using. So let's get started. Here's the end of my wand. In this little cup here is where I'll put the crystals. Here you have the crystals. Generally speaking, you put a 1/4 teaspoon of crystals per box in the hive. It really doesn't matter if it's a medium box or a deep box. And so since I'm going to be treating a double medium box hive, then I'll be doing about half a teaspoon of the crystals. Don't really want to pack them. So you've got them in there. Now what I'll do then is hook this up, heat it, and those will vaporize inside the hive. This is my internal dry sugar feeder that I have on the top of this hive. So what I'm going to do is I want to cover that hole so no vapors can come out of that hole. Now, all I'm going to do is slide some cardboard in here underneath this, somehow appropriate that it's Honey Nut Cheerios. So we got that hole plugged. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a puff of smoke in the front of the hive. So we're ready to go. Okay, again, all I want to do is I just want enough smoke to kind of loosen up. Just want to loosen that cluster a little bit. It'll also run any bees that happen to have been by the door. There will be a few since I put some in from the top. Run them back up in the hive. They really shouldn't be trying to come out. Again, it's winter time, so they should be trying to stay warm. It's important when you do this that you have a breathing apparatus and that you have eyewear. You know, these vapors don't need to be inhaled. You don't want them in your eyes. Also wear gloves. Okay, we're going to push up the lead, other lead on the vaporizer. Now it's starting to heat up. It'll take it just a minute to heat up. So we'll give it just a moment. Got a 2.5 minute timer on my pad, so we'll start that. And we'll watch to see if we see some smoke coming out around the cracks. You see all those foraging bees outside the hive while I'm treating it. That gives you a sense of the fact that there's a large number of bees that are out foraging on any given day. And this isn't the ideal time to treat, but it's just when I can. You can see the fumes coming out from under the hive. This one's got a screen bottom board, and do have the insert in place, but it's coming out around it, so you can see the fumes and know why I need to wear a mask. All right, that's our timer. Okay, I'm going to reset my timer for 2 minutes. So what I'll do is I'm going to unplug one of the leads to the battery. Now that I've done that, I'll set 2-minute timer. Okay, I'm going to pull my wand out here and stick it in this water bucket to cool it. Plug it back up. I want to keep as many of the vapors in as I can. Cooling and cleaning. Of course, I undid it from the battery before I did that. So I set a 10-minute timer to leave it closed up with the vapors inside, and then I will open up the front, let it air out for 10 minutes, and then return it to the state it was in before I started all this. Okay, we're going to open up the front, let it start airing out. Now, earlier, you may recall I slid this cardboard in under my pop feeder. All I'm going to do is just slide it out. Slid it out. I'm just making sure the hole is still over the hole in the middle of the hive, so the bees can get in there and back out. Put this box I keep around it back on it. Now what I'll do is I'll let it air out a little bit. You may see there's a few bees that come out. Then what I'll do is I'll put my entrance reducer back on the front, and I'll put it at its smallest setting, and then they're good to go. And hopefully in the process we got rid of some mites. Now this particular hive has a bottom, has a screen bottom on it, and then it has a little board that slides in and out of that screen bottom, and I can use that screen bottom to determine whether any of the mites were killed. Oh, how well you can see that. This is the bottom board from a screened hive, and all those little dots on there, I treated this hive. Those darkest dots, not all of it, but those darker dots, now that's a hive, some of these are little hive beetles, but several of those, most of those dark dots are mites. And so that's why we treated them, to try to kill those mites. This is the hive that I treated for varroa mites yesterday. It is obvious that they are doing well. It is in the 50s, I guess, today. And as you can see, they are pretty active. So the treatment does not seem to have bothered them at all. It's gotten dark on me, so I'm going to head to the house, but I got that hive finished. That's one of the ways that I treat for varroa mites. Have a blessed evening, and thank you for watching Brother Bee's Bees.